Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to another Premier Chaos Draft of Ravnica. This is one pack of Murders at Karlov Manor, followed by Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica. Without further ado, let's get into our pack 1, pick 1. There are several great options here. I like Prophet's Eidetic Memory here, which gives you some big bonuses for drawing extra cards during your turn. It's going to draw you one card and put one +1/+1 counter on a creature no matter what, which is already decent, but if you can play more card draw, then you can get even more +1/+1 counters onto the board. So pretty spicy card. There's plenty of card draw in the other two sets as well. We could also take Greenbelt Radical, which is a huge finisher. Tons of mana to flip this up and overrun. We could take Nervous Gardener for great fixing, Tipster for OK ramp, and Dogwalker for a bunch of creatures. I think all of these would be really reasonable options for a pack 1, pick 1. I think I'm going to go with Eidetic Memory here, but Nervous Gardener, I think, is my second favorite card there, followed by the big trampoline finisher thing. For pick number 2, we've got a Projector Inspector, which synergizes really well with the Eidetic Memory, and that it's going to let us draw a card, discard a card when we play it, and when we play any other detectives. We're not going to have a ton of detectives in this draft, because we won't get them out of Ravnica Allegiance or Guilds, but this is still pretty solid, even if it only triggers once or twice, which it probably will only trigger once or twice. Considering we just have one pack of murders. Alternatively, we could take Flourishing Bloomkin. This is the strongest card in the pack regardless of color. It's a big green ramp spell, but it does want you to play as many forests as possible, so be as close to mono green as possible, which can be difficult in this kind of chaos draft. We're definitely going to be playing 2 colors splashing a third, or not definitely, but most likely 2 colors splashing a third, if not 3+ colors just straight up, so I think I'm just going to take the Inspector. Pick 3, there's another Flourishing Bloomkin, so we could have just doubled up on those early, but alternatively there's an Escape Tunnel, which is excellent fixing no matter what our deck ends up being, so I'm a pretty big fan of that. We can also take Loxodon Eavesdropper. This is a detective to trigger Projector Inspector, and it gives us a clue token to trigger Prophet's Eidetic Memory, so that would be good too. But I think Escape Tunnel is a pretty high pick. I mean, Eavesdropper is a really solid card up front, and having synergies with both of our first 2 picks is kind of huge. Yeah, I think I probably take Eavesdropper over Escape Tunnel, but just barely. Pick number 4, we've got a Reasonable Doubt, which is a reasonable counterspell. Alternatively, I do like flipping up some Offender Larges in more aggressive decks as the big endgame card. And Codebreaker can draw you a fresh new hand later when you flip it up. It's kind of nice. That's about it. Reasonable Doubt, Offender, Larger, Codebreaker. I'll speculate towards the Codebreaker here. Pick number 5, we get another Detective, the Cold Case Cracker, which works great with Inspector and Eidetic Memory. Pretty happy to take that. Pick 6, we've got a Murder. We've got an Offender at Large, if we want to continue down the red path with our Codebreaker. Yeah, so head towards black with some excellent removal getting past really late, or stick to red with Offender. I think I'm speculating towards black here. Extract and Murder are both great removal spells, but I'll go for the Murder here for the targeted removal. I think Extract was a little bit better in triple Murders at Karlov Manor, but Murder might be a little better in the Chaos format, where we might need to hit very specific big targets in the late game. Reasonable Doubt, still a fine counterspell, or Gravestone Strider for fixing. This is pretty solid fixing for non-green decks, because they don't get much better, so I'll take the Gravestone Strider. Now a Pick 8 Surveillance Monitor is an excellent card. It's a 3/3 and a 1/1 flyer, as long as you get to exile something from your grave when you play it. A detective? It is a detective as well, so it works with Projector Inspector. Alright. Pick 9, we get a second Projector Inspector. Even out of just one pack of Murders at Karlov Manor, we have kind of the detective dream to go with these two, so that's nice. 1, 2, 3, 4 detectives out of blue alone. Not to mention, if we do get to play green, we've also got the Eavesdropper. Pick 10, we can take one of these random white detectives, neither are great. I'll grab the Griffinot Tracker. Pick 11, Owl Smuggler for a big finisher, because we are like 100% locked in on blue. Much as I like Offender at large, I'm going to take something that will almost 100% make the cut over kind of a speculative pick, because we are just as deep into every non-blue color, so it could be anything here for our secondary. So kind of depends what we open up here. All right, well, we didn't really open up... Oh, never mind. I was going to say we didn't really open up any bombs, because our rare is a dual land, but Shark the Crab is an incredibly impressive uncommon. So 4 mana, 4/4. You can adapt it for 4 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on it, which is kind of a lot of mana, but for that mana, you now have a 5/5 Shark the Crab, and you're tapping and stunning one of your opponent's creatures, and you can use that adaptability at instant speed. So Shark the Crab is actually very, very nice. I think that is the strongest card in the pack, and we potentially push towards Simic now. Going green, blue. Pack 2, pick 2. Fairy Duelist is a pretty great blue common. You get to flash this thing out and maybe randomly win a combat against an opposing creature, either by having like a 3/2 Projector Inspector on board when they attack in with a 3/3. That's Magical Christmas Land, because then you drop this down, you kill their 3/3 without losing a creature. But this can single-handedly kill like a 2/1 by itself without dying, or even a 3/1, honestly, which is pretty impressive. So I think Fairy Duelist is just it's pretty great. High Alert's a really fun build around, but we don't have any cards to work with it yet, and we'd have to push off of green and into white for that. I'm just going to take Fairy Duelist. Okay. Let me sort by our creature curve here. We've got one non-creature card in blue-green, and it's the Eidetic Memory. It's a little awkward. Let's see. There's not much in here. There's a Gruul Beastmaster for another 4-drop, but I have a lot of 4-mana creatures right now. I guess we can take the Caretaker for mana fixing as long as we've got another creature on board. I think that's fine. Or we can take Azorius Guildgate in case we want to go blue-white-green. If we go blue-white-green, then we can get blue-white multicolored cards from Azorius in this pack, and we can get Selesnya cards out of pack 3. This would be an okay place to be. I think I'd just take Caretaker, though, because we've already got a Murder, so we might go blue-green-black, although Murder's pretty hard to splash, requiring double black. Pick 4 looks like pretty much nothing here. Yeah, blue does not look nearly as open pack 2 from the left. Hopefully that means just all the players on our right are not playing blue and we can get plenty of stuff out of pack 3. But I guess we'll see, because this really does not have anything for us. It's an ill-gotten inheritance if we do splash black. Axebane Beast on color. Yeah, not a great pack. Pick 5, alright, this is pretty decent. We get another Fairy Duelist. Or a Growth Spiral is a good card too, but I'll take another Fairy Duelist. Really like the combat trick on a body there. Now we can take a Growth Spiral over pretty mediocre 2-mana creature. Or mediocre combat trick. Yep, Growth Spiral is a fine little cantrip, and it synergizes well with our Eidetic Memory, just giving us some other piece of random card draw. Can also ramp into a turn 3 Shark to Crab, which would be nasty. Pick 7, Code of Constraint. Tap and stun a creature and draw a card if you do it during your main phase. Otherwise, it's just an instant speed combat trick for 3, which isn't bad either. I think I like the Code of Constraint here because it works, again, pretty well with our rare, our Eidetic Memory. Actually, the Eidetic Memory works insane with Shark to Crab. If we can get those two cards together and we can keep putting more counters on the Shark to Crab, that'll be super gross. All right, now we've got a Prying Eyes here for huge card draw. That seems fine. Or splash in a Drill Bit, splashing in black stuff. I'm gonna go for the Prying Eyes, though. Still not locked in on splashing black over splashing white. Pick 9. Sphinx's Insight off of the white splash, or Slime Bind, which doesn't kill a creature, but it stops it from like hitting us, which is still okay. I'll take Slime Bind. Regenesis is an okay card too. That return 2 things from your grave to hand. A little expensive. but fine late game graveyard recursion. Pick 10. I mean, we're low on 3 mana creatures, so I guess a 3 mana 3/2 goes in. Spire Mangler's kind of a sweet splash, though. Little flash ambush blocker. Yeah, I do find it highly unlikely we'll play a 3 mana 3/2 with no text. So we'll grab another black card. Pick 11, grab another black card, but I don't think we're splashing in a 2 mana zombie. You can always cycle Cease for 1 and a green, so I guess that can stay in the deck for now. Alright, pick 12. We get the Axebane Beast or the big, super expensive Debtor's Transport. Take the Axebane Beast. Guess we could also splash in red if we get a bunch of good Is It burn spells out of the third pack. That's something too. I don't think we'd put the Gore Clan Wrecker in here, but we could play the Codebreaker. Bunch of cheap red burn. All right, here we go for pack number 3. Nothing incredible, it looks like, in this pack. We've got a 2 mana 1/2 flyer that surveils every time it attacks. I mean, that's really decent at setting up your cards. I think that's pretty solid. Piston Fist Cyclops doesn't look that bad for this deck either. We've got a decent instant sorcery count. And we can pick up some more. And Dimir Informant's really nice at setting up the draws, giving you a big booty blocker. I think I like Night Veil Sprite the best out of all these. But not an insane way to start off pack 3. Pick number 2 now. Not much here. We could take an Is It Guildgate in case we do want to go for the red splash for Fugitive Codebreaker, and maybe get something like Command the Storm to wheel, some kind of decent removal. Because there's nothing here really in blue or green, and the red card, the risk factor, isn't super worth the splash unless you're super duper aggressive, or you can pressure your opponent enough to play that. I mean, Capture Sphere, I guess, is definitely playable. It's Capture Sphere versus the Is It Guildgate speculation. I guess we don't really have any like hard removal yet, but Capture Sphere isn't even hard removal because it's not going to stop the abilities of the card or anything. And your opponent could always sacrifice it for value or bounce it back to their hand, which would be terrible. I don't know, I don't like Capture Sphere that much, but it is probably worth taking it over an Is It Guildgate when we don't even know if we're splashing red. Pick 3 is also a pretty big miss. It's just the Cyclops. We've got 6 instants and sorceries. That might be a little low for the Cyclops still. Probably want like 10. So it's Capture Sphere and Guildgate again. All right, now that I have one Capture Sphere, I'll speculate on a Guildgate this time. Pick 4. All the Cyclopses in the world. Okay, here's a more likely Guildgate. The blue-black Guildgate to help with any of these that we might want to put in. Although, again, none of these are that powerful towards splashing them. We could just play Whisper Agent, double blue and 1. That is main deckable. Yeah, we actually still haven't seen anything that crazy to really, really draw us to splashing here. So we'll take the Whisper Agent. That is mono blue. Pick 5. Oh, double black removal. It's excellent removal, but it is double black. I mean, there's always the chance that we're blue-black at the core splash the green, actually, in which case we can take Deadly Visit, because we don't need to play Axebane Beast or Caretaker, and that leaves us with really just Shark to Crab Eavesdropper for the green spells. We can play much more black spells here instead. Just play a few forests, and actually it's probably where it's at. I actually kind of wish I realized that that was an option sooner. Because we probably had some decent Dimir options. Nothing incredible that we passed up on, but stuff that would have been decent here. Yeah, blue-black at the core looks like the place to be. None of these cards are any good. We just take the Guildgate. I mean, the Guildgate is good. These cards all look pretty bad as well. If you surveil a Creeping Chill, you can cast it for free, which is cute, but if you ever have to hard cast it, it is terribly inefficient. Yeah, this is a whole pack of filler. Pick 8, we get a Dimir Guild Gate, which is definitely useful to us. So we're happy to see that. Pick 9. Pretty empty pack here as well. Guess I can take that Piston Fist. Have that option open. And this pack is nothing. This pack is another Piston Fist. This pack is nothing. We could play a Molder Hulk, but it's basically a 9 mana 6/6. It's cheaper for each creature in your grave, but we don't have like a lot of self-mill or a super high creature count to fill that grave. I guess the Projector Inspectors to discard creatures early could try to get this out cheap, but you need to have a lot of creatures in your grave to make this worth it. Even as a 6 mana 6/6, it's just average. At 5 mana 6/6, you're like, okay, I kind of did it. But in order for this to be a 5 mana 6/6, you need 4 creatures in your grave, which is a lot. Alright, so we're going to be Dimir splashing in a Shark to Crab. That's what it looks like. And an Eavesdropper. So should be some pretty simple deck building here. We're not ramping enough to really want the Magnifying Glass. Growth Spiral's a little worse on the splash, because you want your green mana early. Our instant and sorcery count is 6, which makes the Piston Fists a little weaker. We could just cut those two. If there's nothing in our deck that looks just really bad, we probably just cut the 2 Piston Fists. And I don't think there is. I think everything else in the deck looks like a fine card. At worst. Yeah. Let's drop the Piston Fist Cyclopses. Let's make sure our mana base is in order. We've got 15 blue cards, 7 black, 3 green. We have 8 blue sources, probably about where we want it. 7 black sources, pretty decent. We do need double black on Deadly Visit and double black on Murder, so we do want to keep that pretty high. And 4 green sources. 4 green sources for our 2 green cards seems fine to me. I think we will call it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at the final deck list for today. We're on a Dimir deck, splashing a little bit of green for the very powerful Shark to Crab here. So for the core of our deck, though, we have just a ton of solid blue creatures with great enter the battlefield effects. A lot of ways to dig through our library, find whatever kind of spells we need, with Projector Inspectors drawing and discarding cards, Night Veil Sprites, surveilling through the deck, Cold Case Cracker, trading into becoming a clue token to draw us another card, and we just have some hard card draw like Prying Eyes for a draw 4, Code of Constraint to draw 1, Eidetic Memory to draw 1, a bunch of stuff like that. So really good at digging through the deck, finding what we need between our black removal spells like Deadly Visit and Murder, maybe some spells to slow our opponent down like Capture Sphere, Slimebind, and Code of Constraint, or of course some nice dirtily creatures on the ground like Whisper Agents and Inspectors or Flyers to end the game in the sky like Spire Manglers and Fairy Duelists and Night Veil Sprites and stuff. So really solid looking deck here. Pretty excited to see how it does. So without further ado, let's head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are for game 1. Our opponent is on the play. So they'll try to get things going pretty quickly here, but we have a decent hand for slowing them down. Code of Constraint for a stun, Capture Sphere on the first threat we really want to kill. Surveillance Monitor, that needs 4 evidence to get the Thopter. I only have 3 evidence with Code of Constraint. Looks like our opponent is dancing around with a ton of colors over there. Red, black, green, and white available to them right now. Alright, just chip in for 2 damage with the Sentry, and now we can slam down a 3/3 that the Sentry can't get through. And even if they removal spell this, we're up a card thanks to the clue token. Grasping Thrall, nice flyer there. We'll probably Slimebind that. Could Capture Sphere it as well. But I don't think I really care if they... if they chump block with a 0/3. currently. Yeah, and this gives me pretty good use of the mana. Slimebind isn't instant too. So I could, if they try to double block and kill the Eavesdropper, I could Slimebind in response and really ruin their day. It looks like they are not trying to do that. Insidious Roots. Ooh, if they start removing a bunch of creature cards from their grave, they get a bunch of plants. Would be interesting to see if they found a bunch of synergies for that in the other sets. Would take a little more work than usual for sure. 6 mana, I could just Prying Eyes here, but I can also commit to the board with Projector Inspector and get Eavesdropper Vigilance for the turn, which feels very worth it. There's their blue source off the hedge maze. They found the full 5 color now. Surveil their card to the top. Spire Mangler is the draw. I want 4 evidence in my graveyard before I cast Surveillance Monitor. Probably just holding up a ton of instants here then. Hit for 6. Uh-oh. I gotta have a big spell here to turn this around now. Down to 8 against 2 3-power creatures. But the surveil to the top into no blocks does kind of look like they're going to do something pretty explosive here. We'll see what it is. Okay. Rakdos Locket to start. True Fire Captain is the play. Okay. We can just kind of deal with that. Be fine. Let's give it the stun during our turn. Let's go for the Prying Eyes. Discard 2 cards. They're at 8. I don't think we can find lethal. Can stun that and Capture Sphere that. It's not going to be lethal still. Yeah, let's ditch a forest and ditch Cease and Desist, I think. Alright, find a Whisper Agent. So we can Surveillance Monitor and get our Thopter and see if we draw anything that changes our plans, which we don't. And then we're just going to Code of Constraint the True Fire Captain. All right. Really just popping off over here. Syndicate Guild Mage, but it's summoning 6, so can't do any tapping or anything. Same with the House Guild Mage. Any way to lethal here? Probably. Spire Mangler is 2 extra damage in the sky, so we're dealing 3 to them no matter what. So if we get a single ground creature in, then we win. So I can Capture Sphere a ground creature, attack all. And then Spire Mangler the flyer. Unless they block the flyer with the Grasping Thrall, but then they're dead on board. Right, they let 4 damage through. If they block 2 3-power creatures. Yeah, so that's 4 damage, and then we Spire Mangler, and it becomes 6. Alright, well, really solid showing game 1. A lot of work from the Projector Inspector. just the value in general, all the card draw, the clue tokens, stuff like that. We were constantly fueled with whatever we wanted to do, while our opponent was kind of just dancing around with a bunch of tap lands. We'll take it. Start things off 1-0, heading to game 2. Here we are on the draw for game 2. We've got a solid curve to start things off. The Sprite into a face-down Smuggler. Playing against mono green for now. The Plague white, but I'd rather start with Night Veil Sprite so that we can surveil and set up our draws. Blue green, some Simic Slaw from our opponent. There's a face down. Spire Mangler for the draw. We could just go for damage in the sky now. I don't hate that. Surveil Whisper Agent, let's get that out of here. Just go for damage. Try to outrace them in the sky. 3 damage a turn. Got a Cease for some life gain. We've got a Deadly Visit for removal. I think we can be racing this game. Nervous Gardener is the face down, so that's going to give them some mana fixing. They find a Plains. Green, white, and blue. Send it in. No blocks. Down to 18. And they play another face down. The Fairy Duelist for the draw. Could lead to a pretty nasty block on Nervous Gardener. It doesn't work on the face down because it has ward, but it will work on Nervous Gardener, so I think I still set that up. We keep the green source. We're looking for a 5th land, and Forest is probably the best 5th land. So if we draw our Shark to Crab or our Loxodon Eavesdropper, we have the mana for that. Alright, Fairy Duelist does find the free kill on the Nervous Gardener. There's a Grappling Sundew. Set blocks one of our flyers each turn. It's a little annoying. Stops 2 damage a turn. Makes our race a little bit worse. I guess I could just Deadly Visit it. But I can't imagine that's right. Block 1, take 1, 2, 3, 4. They crack back for 4. I think we're still winning the race. Just going for it here. Surveilling any lands we draw into the grave. Okay, they are going to take a trade, so they also agree that we're currently winning the race. So they don't want to. Another face down. I got a lot of Murders at Karlov Manor disguise cards. I'm gonna go ahead and cycle this. Well, no, it's a pretty horrible cycle. We've got Bubble Smuggler mana, so send in the team. That's a good one. That is a good cycle. Draws this card, puts a +1/+1 counter on the board. We flip up a Bubble Smuggler and hit them down to 4 life. Okay. Let's cast the Eidetic Memory pre-combat, so we get to put a +1/+1 counter on one of our flyers. Gravestone Strider. So if they want to give this indestructible, I can cast Deadly Visit to tap them out of flipping these, which would be a pretty big deal. I can just hold on to it just in case one of these is really bad. I'm going to go for this. Because, like, they're dead on board if they don't give the Sundew indestructible. Okay. Ooh, Ill-Gotten Inheritance is a real good one here. Keep that. So they need one of these to flip into a reach creature or lifelink or something. Let's see what they got here. 6/7 reach, okay. That has to block a flyer though. They have to chump Bubble Smuggler, go to 1. Now they have to find a way to take no damage from any of these creatures and kill me before I get another upkeep, because if I get another upkeep, then Ill-Gotten Inheritance will kill them. Selesnya Locket. And there's the concession. They just can't play enough blockers there, and we are going to start things off 2-0 heading into Game 3. All right, here we are for Game 3. Awkward mana here, but Projector Inspector can do a lot of work trying to dig out of that, and top decking Golgari Guildgate can immediately fix that. There's Vernati Shieldmate to start things for our opponent. Not ideal for us, because our 3/2 body does not stack well into a 2-mana 2/2. It's not going to attack into it, it's not going to block it, it's just going to sit there being awkward. Sprouting Renewal. Alright, let's go ahead and cycle the Cease. Well, you know what? Green-white, this might be greedy, but I'm going to hold on to this. Desist might actually do something crazy here. If we hit double green later in this game off Prying Eyes. Like, if they have a bunch of enchantment-based removal, Desist could randomly win the game in the end. Like, worst case scenario, yeah, there's the second green. I was going to say, worst case scenario, we can just still cycle Cease later in the game for like an instant speed eavesdropper combat trick when we attack in or something. This is a lot of damage, and those both have vigilance. We really hope they don't kill our eavesdropper. And if they do kill our eavesdropper, we really hope they kill it with an enchantment, so that at least if I make it to 6 mana, Desist puts in work. Okay, double duelist seems pretty sweet here. I need the second black, though, if I hit a Deadly Visit or a Murder. Those are both really important cards to cast quickly. That's enchantment-based removal. Okay, I can't afford to take too many more hits like this, but with 2 Fairy Duelists in hand, if I wait a turn, I can cast both the Fairy Duelists to make both of their 2/2/0/2s, and I can kill both of them, one with Projector Inspector and one with Double Duelist, so I think it is worth not blocking because of the Double Duelist in hand. Now I have Duelist plus Code of Constraint as another option, but I'm fairly certain we're on Double Duelist. Blocks. And we have to do this pre-blocks, so that I have the Duelists on the board to declare the double block. Alright, exceptional work from the Fairy Duelists there. It's Absolving Lamassu for a big flyer. But if I just play a Night Veil Sprite, I have enough flying blockers, and I can Code of Constraint after blocking with all 3. Alternatively, I could do the main phase Code of Constraint to stun it. Ooh, man. Of course, +1/+1 is just enough to save the Lamassu from getting triple blocked here. That's super annoying. Okay, I kind of feel like I still need to at least jump. So... But I have to have all of my flyers still around. So I have to do, like... 'Cause, I have to do this and really hope that they order to kill Projector Inspector here. Okay, they did order to kill Projector Inspector, so we're good. So now I still have all 3 flyers to kill Lammasu next turn. Perfect. And there's a Capture Sphere to deal with the Vigor Spore Worm. Because that can only be blocked by 1 creature, right? Yeah, it can't be blocked by more than 1, so that's going to be really, really hard for me to kill. And the flyer is already difficult to kill. If they play 1 removal spell, we are having a very bad time. But I think the Vigor Spore Worm is even harder. I guess also the really big issue with the Capture Sphere is if I cast it, I can't desist anymore. Or I'm also saving their Vigor Spore Worm. So that's a bummer, but I have no other way to deal with the worm, so I have to cast it. So no more desist plans of saving our Loxodon. For now. Maybe they'll play more enchantments and artifacts and then it's worth it again. Okay. Oh, they get to suspect the duelist so I don't have a blocker anymore? That's kind of rude. It's a 2-2. We can kill that with a Whisper Agent, though. That could be even bigger than a 2-2. We're on Whisper Agent draw a card here. And hope the 3-2 is big enough to kill the 2-2. What we got. I can't really let the face down through, because if it is big enough to kill a 3-2, it's also big enough to probably get close to one-shotting me anyway. Right, because that means it's at least like a 4-4, which puts me astronomically low. It was a green belt radical, and they didn't have the mana to flip it up. I'm really happy about that kill. They were 1 mana off. We still gotta deal with a 4-4, though. I still can't think I'm gonna be able to afford to desist, so I might as well gain 2 life when I draw this card instead of just drawing a card. Come on, Deadly Visit. Okay, Murder's basically Deadly Visit. Ill-Gotten Inheritance? I'm 1 mana off from playing both of these spells, so we are just Murder plus draw a card. Yes, I know I can draw the card either way, so let's draw it first and see if that changes anything. Nope. This would have let me play Murder and Ill-Gotten Inheritance if I hit it a turn sooner. I feel like I'm still playing this, so I might be able to Prying Eyes and cast something the same turn, because if they cast another creature, I'm going to need to be able to Prying Eyes and cast another spell in that same turn. I think I wait to see if they play any auras or anything to buff the board, rather than doing it while they're tapped out. Okay. 5, 6, 7. I think I have to Prying Eyes first. Oh, I need to tap double blue either way. I'm an idiot. Okay. There's a Bubble Smuggler to block the Gorgon. I think I have to play it now rather than trying to flip it. I'm just way too low to wait on that. Okay. Ill-gotten inheritance for the life drain. Start getting back in there. I think I'd rather play around removal by waiting to Shark to Crab until a turn where I can cast it and adapt it immediately. So I'm just going to hold up Spire Mangler as a trick. Like if they try to removal spell Bubble Smuggler to come kill me, I can just trade Spire Mangler into the Gorgon. If they don't removal spell Smuggler, I'll just block. And then we can still just cast Shark to Crab next turn. Cool. Locks it on Eavesdropper. Okay, that's a pretty big one, but Shark to Crab can deal with that. I think I'm saving Mangler for tricks. Slime Bind, that can also deal with that really well. Okay. Here's a Shark to Crab with the Adapt mana up. They crack the clue, look for a play. Play a land and a 10th District Veteran. How does this work? Whenever it attacks, untap another creature they control. So it gets around the adapt thing, but it untaps it after that has already declared an attack, so it still doesn't really work. Okay. That was a weird... Oh, that's a weird color there for that ability. I don't mind it. Kind of cool, though. More than enough blockers, especially with 2 instants in hand to send in here. We're going to send in, cast Cold Case Cracker, hold up the tricks. Aw, exile the Shark to Crab. That is disappointing. But I think we can still get there at this rate. Still doing our thing. At that point, it might have been worth Spire Mangling, just for the damage. Skyline Scout, potential flying attacker. That is threatening. Ooh, Deadly Visit. Can Deadly Visit and still have Slime Bind or Mangler up. So we Deadly Visit and then we Slime Bind the Veteran, I guess? Or I could just Mangler for damage and have it up as a blocker against the Scout. It's fine too. I think if I had just cashed in a Spire Mangler earlier, we would have just been close to lethal by now, because we'd been attacking with 1 more flyer on all these turns, too. Ooh, right. That could untap the Vigor Spore Worm for the future. Well, that's threatening. Well. No! I was literally about to say if they don't have life gain, they're just dead to ill-gotten inheritance now. And then they hit me with the life gain there. Now I have a shot at losing because I can hit them down to 5, but I need to hit them down to 4 to kill them with the inheritance. I I didn't even say it out loud. I stopped myself from jinxing myself there. And they still had the life gain. Okay. We're not dead on board. We can still try to lethal them next turn with Ill-Gotten Inheritance, so we should play it safe with all these blocks up. Go for the Ill-Gotten kill next turn with our flyers. We chump there, we block there, we slime bind there, take 0. Something like that seems reasonable. Chump. Kill. Slime bind. It's a Sundew to block flying, which keeps them alive. Oh boy. Our draw is... land. What? Incredible couple top decks in a row. Actually, 3 in a row, right? Because they needed the Veteran to untap the Worm, so Veteran into Brush Strider into Sundew. Like, good lord. This is their final shot. If they top deck lethal, they got me. If they don't, I got them. Because I can kill them with 1 more point of Fairy Duelist damage, because there's 1 more Ill-Gotten to put them to 5, and 1 Fairy Duelist to put them to 3. I think I have to play around a combat trick here, and I'm forced into the chump. Worst case scenario, and they do have removal for Duelist, it isn't completely over, because we draw 2 cards here, 1 off the Investigate and 1 for turn. So if I can just survive another hit from Vigor Spore Worm, I can kill them with Ill-Gotten Inheritance alone. I just drain them to 5, pass, take the damage, drain them to 4, then kill them. Let's see what the top deck is. It's a 4/4 Vigilance on the ground. That's not going to do it for them. I believe Ill-Gotten Inheritance is going to close this game out for us. They're down to 4, and here is the 4 damage to target opponent. And that is 3-0. A very long, hard-fought game for the 3rd victory, but still undefeated so far. Super sweet start to this draft. Here we are for game 4. We got Night Veil Sprite into Projector and Spectre, which is kind of sweet. We are on the draw again. Opponent on the play here with 3 drops start in turn 3, and they're on Boros, which is one of the most aggressive color pairs. So Boros on the play can be an absolute nightmare. Let's see what we surveil first. Capture Sphere, I will keep it. We've got the mana to get to that, and that'll be decent removal. Let's draw into it, ditch. I've already got the double black. I think I'll ditch a black source here. We have more blue spells than anything. Okay, they did not have a turn 4 play. Maybe should have played this pre-combat just in case they removal spell Inspector on the attack here. So I could still get my draw 1, discard 1. Get rid of that land. And opponent chooses to take the damage. Here's the Cold Case Cracker. Here's our Ritz Cracker. Draw, discard. Find a forest. Do I want an untapped land next turn? No. I'm just going to ditch the forest. I mean, if I keep it, I could have access to desist. But Gravestone Strider can give me access to desist also. Alright, opponent does nothing with all 4 of their mana there. Thought for a long time, though, they have some kind of instant speed thing that they just don't want to do yet, maybe. Maybe it's like a split card where the other half is a lot stronger, but a lot more expensive. Delny makes all their 2-power creatures hard to block, right? Yeah, I can't block like any of their 2-power creatures. That's kind of scary. But we're winning the race right now, so we'll just keep it rolling. They could change that with like this order gaining them life every turn. Summary Judgment. They're going to deal 3 to our tapped creature. I cannot save it in any way. Yeah, it's fine. We're up a card in that exchange thanks to the clue token. There's a Prying Eyes. I don't actually have the 6 mana to cast that yet. But I can crack a clue and cast like a Cease Desist here to draw 2 cards towards the land. Yeah. I have milled some lands, but that's because I only have like the 1/6 drop in the deck. Now that looks pretty bad that I've done that. But so be it. Five mana, 3/3 Vigilance with basically no other text because my creatures are already tapped. How's Impassioned Order triggering twice? Oh, Delny doubles up the order triggers too. Alright, well that's kind of gross. So Whisper Agent is too big to actually block anything here, so if I want to block, I have to Capture Sphere. Which I don't think I want to do. I think we want to Whisper Agent and attack with it into the 3/3. Keep that land, that gets us to Prying Eyes. And now we know we're going to top deck a land, so I can crack the clue and be able to cast Gravestone Strider and still hold up Cease if they try to do anything with their grave. Or I can just hold up Capture Sphere. But I think Gravestone Strider looks like a really good blocker on this board, because it can actually just keep blocking one of their 2-power creatures over and over and just not dying ever. Alright, they go to pass the turn. Let's gain a little life, draw a card. Find another Projector Inspector. That is not bad at all. I think I'm interested enough in impacting the board here to play Projector Inspector over Prying Eyes. Oh my god, and a Shark to Crab is coming up. Get to draw into a Shark to Crab that I can't afford to play yet, but it's still a Shark to Crab. I'm just ditching the Prying Eyes awkwardly. Guess we could have ditched the Guild Gate there. But this way, if we top deck our last forest, we can play and activate Shark to Crab, or any land, we can play Shark to Crab and Sphere in the same turn. I think we're trying to just end the game right now rather than draw more at this point. There's a Slime Bind. Big, but not lethal. Come on in, everybody. Spire Mangler would be lethal, but we cannot draw a card right now by any means. I guess it depends how they block here, but if Night Veil Sprite and a 3/2 gets in, then that's just lethal. If they block like Inspector and Strider, which is their most likely on-board block, yeah, we could have had lethal, it would have been sick. I think I'm just going to hold up Slimebind. I'm pretty okay with the trade into the flyer. Now we play a Shark to Crab and have a Slimebind backup. Alright, and that's just enough stuff on board to kill them already, so there's the concession, and we are now 4-0, still undefeated with enough wins to break even on gems out of the event. Super sweet stuff, but see how far it goes as we head into round 5. Here we are for game 5. We've got both of our green splash cards in here without the green source, which can be awkward, but the inspector can do a little digging to try to help us out. See how it pans out for us. Unscrupulous Agent to start things off. I think with Inspector in hand I ditch a land, and if we don't draw more we Inspector away the green cards, so okay. That's a green source. Or just a Fairy Duelist to kill an Unscrupulous Agent. It's not the craziest kill in the world, but because I hit the green source, we know what we're doing turn 3 and turn 4 already, so it's not really going to fit into the curve elsewhere. If I didn't hit the green source, it might be worth saving the Duelist for a turn 4 play, but our turn 4 play is Eavesdropper or Shark to Crab for sure. So, if I don't cast Duelist now, I won't be casting it till like turn 6. And that's a lot of missed damage, a lot of missed tempo. Part of why in one of those earlier games I think I should have played the Spire Mangler way sooner than I ended up doing so. Okay. Our opponent is on green, blue, black with a Case of the Shattered Pact, so they could be on all 5 colors trying to solve this thing. A couple Portcullis Vines to lock things down on the ground, but 3/2s attacking them fine, and flyers go right over it. Let's make sure I get draw, discard, Eavesdropper trigger here. Off of Inspector, or do I just play a Shark to Crab? I guess I can hold up a Fairy Duelist and cast a Shark to Crab, but I don't see why I would need the Fairy Duelist here. Shark to Crab and Eavesdropper are both going to hit like just as hard. And I guess if they have a really weird combat trick, then we get to Fairy Duelist against it by doing things this way. Because I think we'd want to pre-combat the Eavesdropper just in case Inspector was in any danger. On the other hand, I could still Eavesdropper now, and what I like about Eavesdroppering here is it makes it so if they actually play big enough blockers, we have the ability to Fairy Duelist and crack a clue in the same turn next turn, which could be really good. That way, if I do Fairy Duelist, I'm still using all my mana. Okay, if they Tome of the Guild Pact, then we're just going to play a Shark to Crab. Yeah. But this gives us a really excellent way to use our mana had they not. No blocks. Well, if it was a board wipe, I think they would have just trumped 3 damage for free here. So I'm gonna maybe overcommit by playing Shark to Crab, we'll see. Okay, it is not a board wipe, but it is huge. It's a gigantic creature that kills one of ours. That actually just fights the Shark to Crab immediately. Incredible card. Absolutely mythic level, mythic bomb rare. Hello, Deadly Visit. Well, I don't think we could have drawn better than that, because Duelist was not going to be quite enough there. Alright, they're down to 4. I guess Murder would have been a slightly better draw, because we could have murdered and Duelist. Or murdered and cracked a clue. So technically we could have drawn slightly better. But that was still a fantastic top deck. Okay, just gonna pass turn, hold up a bunch of instants. Let's send in and see what they got. Block the eavesdropper, take 4 on board. What do you have to survive here? Crack the vine to look for instant speed removal? Could be the play. It looks like the play. They did not find the instant speed removal, and that is 5-0, undefeated all the way to being in the money here, leaving this event with more gems than it cost us to enter. Incredible spot to be as we head into round number 6. Here we are for game 6. There's a pretty big risk to this hand, and that risk is that they just kill Gravestone Strider. But if they don't, Projector and Spectre can do some digging to find natural blue sources to get to the Prying Eyes. So I'm going to keep. We've got a great start with 2-drop and a 3-drop, and they're both good cards. And we have decent mana to start things off, 2 of our 3 colors. It's just that one of those colors is overrepresented. We definitely don't need double green anywhere near this early. Turn 1, Snarling Gorehound from our opponent. Going to menace in some damage, going to get some surveils here. Uh-oh. Mulligan into a really aggressive hand on the play. This is going to be a bad time. Especially if we draw non-blue sources. Yeah, now they can just suspect the Repeat Offender, and I have no blocks on board. We take 3. Oh, cast a Leering Onlooker is the play. Surveil, extract the Confession to the grave. And we take 1. Oh my god. Find 3 green sources before a single blue? Statistically unlikely. But we can ditch these forests. There we go. There's an island. My beautiful friend. The island. Now we can drop a Night Veil Sprite to bounce off the Leering Onlooker every turn. And we have the double blue for Prying Eyes if Gravestone Strider is still around in a few turns. Okay, now they suspect the Offender. Might be it for the turn, in which case we get a little bit of breathing room here. They are going to send it in. I think it's worth losing Inspector, because we don't have too many other detectives in this deck. And we would like to kill the Repeat Offender before it gets any bigger. Alright, well luckily they didn't attack with it, because if they did attack with it, I would have traded, and then I would have top-decked into Loxodon Eavesdropper and been very sad. But now I top-deck into Loxodon Eavesdropper, and we're jamming. We're cool with it. We hit every single green source. That's wild. The Offender can't block, so we get to just send in Inspector at this point. Since we've got Eavesdropper plus Strider for the double block now. Our opponent is on a 2-color deck, black-white, some Orzhov goodness over there. Send in the Repeat Offender and the Leering Onlooker. And lose an Eavesdropper. Unless they have a combat trick in their hand. On board, they put a counter on Offender, kill the 3/3. Yeah, that's fine. Already got us our clue token worth of value. And we can crack the clue now, because we only have a 2-mana card to play anyway. Okay. I stop 1 damage off of Night Veil Sprites by blocking Leering Onlookers, so we send both of these in. If I don't send in the Strider, the only way it helps block is if I double block Gorehound with Sprite and Strider. In which case I'm not blocking Onlooker anyway, so I take just as much damage. I guess at least that way I'm threatening to kill their creature. So it would have stopped another damage. They would have just not attacked with Gorehound if I didn't send Strider in. Well, actually just still don't attack with it here. Okay. Maybe try to flip things when they flip this card. I go for the Prying Eyes. and see what their face down is going to do to change this game. Okay, that is impactful. Luckily, it's not like the Aurelius Vindicator level impactful, but a 3-2 flying vigilance is kind of a big deal. It's the biggest flyer on the board, and it gets to hold itself up as a blocker. Neighborhood Guardian's also really good. If they draw any other creatures, they get some +1/+1 triggers, get even more damage in. More importantly, they can make their attacks better, where now the Gorehound's a 2-2, so I can't double block it without losing a creature by them buffing it into being a 2-2. Just little stuff like that stacks up into extra damage. Alright, so here's the Prying Eyes. Set up our hands to be perfect, and this is going to be perfect. It's going to be beautiful stuff. Got the mana for Surveillance Monitor and use Spire Mangler as a trick. Seems decent. Let's be draw and discard again. Finding Cease and Desist. Ooh, I mean, I lose my Gravestone Strider, but I kill their Granite Witness with a Cease and Desist. I guess I also lose my Thopter. Yeah, that's actually not beautiful. We just keep the rest of the hand. Sorry, Cease and Desist. I'm going to have too much good stuff on my board that you will kill. It is kind of funny, too. If I cast Desist, I would need the Gravestone Strider to give me the second green. And then its reward for giving me the second green is that I'm going to blow it up alongside all the other artifacts and enchantments. It's a cruel world sometimes. Let's see what their trick is here. This looks like a trick. Then we respond to their trick with a Spire Mangler. Huh. Well, yeah, if they wait on it, then they get to respond to our trick with theirs, and that's probably bad for us. We'll see what it's going to be here. Still got the Capture Sphere to just deal with the Granite Witness and start shredding them in the sky from there. Final... Oh, it's just removal. And they had to sack their Onlooker to do that? I guess they want to because they can get the 2 flyers at instant speed and get the Guardian trigger, but that seems decent to me because they're going to be tapped flyers, right? This is a solid turn to Capture Sphere and then Whisper Agent. Yep, you can have your tapped flyers. I guess I get to see exactly what they're buffing up on blocks. Probably just 2 Neighborhood Guardian buffs so that they have a 4/4 blocker. Yep, fair. Send in with the flying team, and we will outrace the 2 bats. Although they liked whatever they surveilled into, which is mildly concerning. I don't think it's concerning enough not to just slam. Especially with future plays like Code of Constraint and Shark to Crab coming up. Alright, we'll take our 2 damage on the crackback. Down to 11. They are down to 10. Here's our end step Whisper Agent. For another attacker. If I stun Neighborhood Guardian, they have 1 blocker. They block a 3 power creature, take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Exact lethal on board. It's a little bold. They have to have no instant speed removal here. But I think we go for it, because they're only going to have 3 damage on the crackback, even if they survive. And obviously, if they don't survive, then it's just good. We just end the game. Exile creature return to the battlefield, give it first strike. That is incredible against enchantment removal. Yikes. Oh, we're still killing them in 2 swings, but that is pretty nasty. They're down to 3. Actually, slightly more likely to kill them by putting an ill-gotten inheritance on the board. Yeah, because then even if they, like, board wipe, like Wrath of God or something, they're just dead. The ill-gotten. Alright, they have to lethal me, or they're dead. They have 5 damage on board. They need a way to deal 6 more damage. If they had any ground creatures to be attacking with here, I probably would have played the Shark to Crab instead of the Ill-Gotten, but since it's all flying anyway, Shark to Crab's not going to protect us at all, so... Looks like it is not going to be a way to deal 6 extra damage, so we will find the victory in the end for 6-0, heading into game number 7, the final boss, undefeated here. So we've got 3 rounds in the chamber to find a 7th win today. All right, here we are on the play for what may be the final game of Magic for today, the final boss here. We've got perfect mana, one of each basic. We've got a Fairy Duelist to start things off and an Eavesdropper for good value, the Prying Eyes to get us way ahead in the end game. Looks like a pretty solid way to start this game off. Don't love the Fairy Duelist without getting to Combat Trick off of it, but I think it's still worth it to just start getting damage in here because it's going to be a long time until we're actually using it as a combat trick when we're not playing another creature till turn 4. So we wouldn't play the Fairy Duelist till turn 5 if I didn't play it there. Forbidding Spirit taxes us to attack this turn. It's 2 mana to send in. That's fine, we can just play Eavesdropper then. They get a turn of Respite. With their mono-white deck, by the way. It's 4 planes. With a Scope of Vampire. There are more hybrid mana cards in this format than you would think, so they could be actually mono white. I think it's unlikely, but they could be. Okay, we can just Slime Bind the Vampire to shut off their life gain to keep the pressure on their life total. Yeah, I'm not really using it as a trick this way, but then my mana's all free to do anything I want, which involves, you know, a lot of powerful cards I can play here. Trump and a trade. They're down to 11, and now I can actually Surveillance Monitor. I do have the Evidence Engrave. I think I'm more likely to kill them if I play Shark to Crab, though. Because then if they don't removal spell Shark to Crab, if they try to play a blocker instead, I just stun the blocker and go to town. Yeah, so they're forced into removal, and they are playing black. They're black-white here. Unfortunately, they did have the removal, so Shark to Crab works a little worse than Surveillance Monitor would have. Although if we played Surveillance Monitor, they might have played some good blocks instead. Never know. Ooh, Spire Mangler. I think I'd rather like surprise lethal with that thing later. Get 4 power on the board by playing a monitor and a flyer off of it. Museum Nightwatch on the ground. And Scrupulous Agent in the ground. Let me math this up here. They block, take 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not lethal. But it's pretty close. I think we keep Prying Eyes for if I somehow don't kill them. That's how we make sure we still have action. Guess I could have played the island here because I might want to Prying Eyes to save Eavesdropper rather than Spire Manglering, but I'm pretty sure we're just going for damage. They are down to 3, facing 3 flyers from us. I'm going to hold on to this in case they have a Burglar Rat or Unscrupulous Agent still. It makes me discard 1. There's the Dev Guardian on the grounds. Keywords being on the ground. They're dead in the sky, and even if I Capture Sphere one of the 2 ground creatures, they still have a chump, so I'm not going to Capture Sphere. And that is lethal. That is an undefeated 7-0 run out of this Ravnica Chaos Draft. Insane stuff. I thought this deck was pretty solid. I did not think it was a 7-0. I was thinking it was solid like a 4-3, 5-3, somewhere around there, but just really, really solid draws and some pretty awkward draws from our opponent, honestly. Definitely showing off a bit of the variance that is involved in Magic the Gathering as a game. There were many opponents that got stuck on mana a lot in the early game. There were 2 that were stuck on mono-colored for a while, and stuff like that. So some really bad luck from our opponents and some pretty solid luck from us. Just gives us a free 7-0 run here. Overall, again, I still do quite like this deck. I'm pretty happy with how we drafted here. There were definitely better decisions to be made during the draft and during the gameplay, but not to the point of impacting any of those games. We still got a full undefeated run, so you cannot argue with that, cannot complain about that for sure. But yeah, super sweet deck, super fun stuff. Really liked the Dimir flyers, and all of the card selection was excellent. Projector Inspector, a constant MVP, alongside the clue tokens from the Eavesdropper. We were really lucky to hit the Dream Team together a lot as well, being able to go Inspector into Eavesdropper for that kind of card advantage. But even just the cycling involved in the Code of Constraint was great. Prying Eyes was always an excellent way to end the game. An excellent way to top off our curve, making sure that we draw some more action to try to finish things off. Shark to Crab was great. Surveillance Monitor was great. Everything in the deck did its job very well, and super happy with this one. As you kind of have to be when you get a full undefeated run and you get 2,200 gems and 6 extra packs out of the event. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the description below, where I'm live every Wednesday. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.